Hello everyone, welcome back to the LSI Watchalongs, the first one of 2025. Welcome to Bahrain, the fourth round though of the 2025 Formula 1 season. It has been a while since we've done one of these Watchalongs, but I'm very happy to be back. Mic check, we just weren't quite ready for the comms, that's all. Just wanted to get the live stream up first whilst I sorted everything else out. But yeah, finally back. Unfortunately, I haven't had that much time to do too much research, but whether this is a reliable source or not, from Zingy himself, he has said, looks like a big change for the floor at Ferrari. Aston Martin have brought some updates too, so hopefully they can be competitive. That's an interesting take. Ferrari haven't exactly been slow, they've just not been there in Japan. They were quickish in China, but it just didn't quite work out in the main race. But then was Charles Leclerc going to be quicker without that damage? We don't quite know. But we're going to look at the session right now. We've got 48 minutes on the clock, and we have got a few FP1 junior drivers coming in. That's Iwasa, Browning, Vesti for Mercedes, Drogovic for Aston Martin, Beganovic in Ferrari. And Hirokawa in the Haas, who's up in P9, and that's pretty good going, to be honest. The highest FP1 driver so far out of the lot. Sonoda is down in P13, but obviously we're only in the first few minutes of the session. They've still got to try and do what they can to get the time in over Verstappen in FP1 so they can try and get an advantage later on in the weekend and maybe get on top of the issues that they had last week. It was the first time in the car last week, of course, so we have to give them a bit of breathing room. Can't just roll them out immediately. You've got to give them time. Now, Browning's been in the pits, hasn't gone out so far. Well, actually, it says that they have gone out, so they haven't set a valid lap time. Now they're on their way out once again. It does mean Sainz is not in the car. Albon is in the car, which is an interesting decision, in my opinion, from the Williams team, because Carlos needs kind of as much time as he can at this stage of the season. That being said, maybe the decision was made to do it in Bahrain for Carlos because he's already driven the car in Bahrain in pre-season testing. So maybe it does make a little bit more sense, and hopefully Carlos can still be in a good position when it comes to FP2 later on and for the rest of the weekend. Yeah, well, Lewis's hairstyle, you either, well, not you either love it or you hate it. It's different. It's different. That's for sure. Don't disrespect it at all. Alright, currently half a second ahead is Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri in P5. Can't get too excited about anything there on the hard tyre. Esteban Ocon's doing a pretty good job with Pierre Gasly up in P3 and 4. The Haas is an interesting one because they've scored some decent points so far this season. Ocon getting a really good result in China. Obviously it was helped a little bit by the disqualifications of the two Ferraris in front of him. But then Oliver Behrman kind of destroying Esteban Ocon back in Japan. So it's an interesting one. The car seems a little bit tricky. Didn't seem what they were hoping for in Australia, but they've managed to get on top of it really quite quickly. And yeah, I think Oliver Behrman should be quite happy with what they've done so far this season. Just got their head down and good to go. Right. I don't think anything has happened too dramatically on track, except from, I do remember Antonelli was having a few engine issues earlier on. They said that they lost power when they were out on track. Peter Bonington was trying to instruct them through the situation, but they've gone straight back into the pit lane. hopefully they don't have any more issues and they can get that solved pretty quickly. But when you've lost power in an FP1 session, they're probably going to get you out the car and go again. We'll see if they go out once again or not. Of course, Vesti is in George Russell's car for this FP1 session, trying to get some good data in, as they are the simulator driver, I believe. I believe they might be a reserve driver, but definitely in the simulator, so they're going to have a bit of a comparison to the real world, and all that time that they have spent in the simulator, they'll spend a lot more time in the simulator than the F1 drivers themselves, so that is their best bet. Done some good homework, and they'll get some more time in the car. Trying to use all the time that they can in their car, as they haven't had exactly the best start to the season, especially in Japan with that big crash, and Colapinto doing a test in Monza, I believe it was, in one of the older Alpine cars, and I believe going fairly quickly. So yeah, Doohan's got a lot of pressure. I think he's pretty good at blocking it out and just driving on his own accord anyway. Whether it's true or not, I do remember seeing that there was a comment Doohan could have about 6 races in the season, and if they don't perform then they could be kicked out. We're on round 4 this weekend, so it could be that they've got 3 more races if that is the case. If something really bad was to happen this weekend with Doohan, then maybe it could be a little bit earlier, but hopefully they get more time, because you don't really deserve to have your career damaged in such a way. Hamilton into the pit lane. And there was a bit of a comm on the radio, but I did miss it, unfortunately. Alright, Hamilton was asked by his engineer if he wanted to do another push on the stint. He said no. So they went back into the pit lane. Okay, so there's a leak for Antonelli. They've had to take off the floor of the car. And no leak is going to be good. That would explain the loss of power for sure. So could be that they lose more than half the session. They've said that wouldn't be ideal for a rookie, although Antonelli has been one of the stronger rookies out of the bunch so far. I say that actually. Australia was brilliant for Antonelli. But Hadjar has definitely shown some very good pace throughout most of his time, especially in quali. He's got pretty nicely into it. In Japan, of course, had that almost famous moment where they were a bit uncomfortable in their car with some of the positioning of a few things. But yeah, just really quite a strong driver so far, compared to, I think, what people were thinking their start to the season would be, maybe their entire season, which is great to see. Just want to have a quick look at the driver standings to see the points, if Hadjar has any, and they currently have 4, so 1 point over Yuki Tsunoda, his old teammate, and 4 points over Liam Lawson, his new teammate. So it is pretty good for Hadjar right now. They're having a very strong start to this season, and now they're going to a circuit that they're familiar with. I think they may have driven at Australia before. I think F2 did go there last season. I'm not sure if they had driven in China before though, so this is another circuit that they definitely have driven before at, and hopefully can go quite well. Now for Aston Martin, they're hoping that they can get Fernando Alonso registered in the championship after their terrible start. I mean, actually, sorry, I say that. I think they did finish. Yes, no, they did finish in Japan. But they weren't registered after the first 2 races. Still no points for Aston Martin. Actually, no, sorry. Lance Stroll, of course, 10 points in Australia. Just trying to have a look at the data. Now, I do apologise for the lack of information that I can give you right now. But hopefully I can do some more research. Sorry, just listening to the radio. Yuki Tsunoda having a bit of a problem there. As I was saying, I'm sorry that I don't have too much information to give you. I'll try and do some research before the FP2 session, then we can have a bit more of an informative session. Of course, a bit more of a representative session, as well as it will be the only practice session that is closest to our qualifying and race conditions, where the sun goes down and the lights come on. That's what we'll be looking for, to try and get some good information, of course. Now, Tsunoda's got himself to P7, despite having those issues. Actually gone and put a purple first sector on those scrub medium tyres. When I say scrub, they're only 1 lap extra than they're currently running. Yeah, 9 laps right now on this tyre. On this stint, I believe. Where would they be able to put that car if they continue on this lap? Albon's just gone fastest with a purple middle sector, 2 green first and third sectors. It's a yellow for Tsunoda in the middle, so maybe they're not going to be able to improve, but definitely a lot quicker in the first sector compared to the previous. Lap times. Lots of drivers testing the hards and the mediums so far. I haven't seen too many, if any, on that soft compound tyre. Now, looking at tyres, we're going to have a very interesting Grand Prix on our hands with a track that definitely is going to need a 2-stop. George Russell said they'd be very impressed if somebody would be doing a 1-stop, and it would be basically impossible. So yeah, it's going to be a 2-stop. It's going to be very interesting with the strategy. Things could go horribly wrong, things could go very, very well. It's also a decent race circuit. Of course, the sector 1, you've got turn 1 and turns 4 that are incredibly good places to overtake at. Turn 11, the next DRS straight, is a little bit more complicated and not really that possible to overtake at. But it can still be a pretty good race circuit. Lap 1's going to be something to watch out for quite nicely, I think. But we shall see on Sunday whether it is going to be an absolute banger or a clanger. Tsunoda, since then, has completed their lap, stays where they are and goes into the pit lane, as I believe they didn't complete that lap time. Well, I don't believe, I know that they didn't complete that lap time, so that purple time will not come about. But it does show some good signs for Tsunoda as they're getting on with the car a little bit more compared to what Lawson was doing last time around, or sorry, out in China and Australia. Now, no disrespect to Lawson at all, it just didn't seem to gel with that car, and it is a massive shame. But maybe they just need a bit more time in Formula 1, maybe they just need a different car and they need to just stay in Formula 1, in the racing ball, and wait for an opportunity to open up elsewhere. As we talk about them, they go to P7, setting 3 green sectors on that hard tyre, ahead of Tsunoda. Now, in the meantime, we see a lot of the FP1 drivers drop further down and to the bottom of the order. The highest driver is Frederick Vesti, who's on his way back out on track here with a fresh set of medium tyres. We've got the soft tyre on for Bortoleto as well. A rookie this season, still having some decent races or decent performances, especially in Australia before that issue, which I can't lie, it didn't really look like it was their fault, even though they did spin. That wheel popped off before they even hit the barrier, so maybe there was some sort of issue earlier on. His teammate Hulkenberg in P5 at the moment. Awasa goes up to P11 and beats Vesti's time to take the top spot for the FP1 drivers. And the lowest F1 driver right now is Antonelli, who has had that issue and hasn't been able to go out on track since losing power with their car. Dragovic has since beaten their lap time to P7. Now looking at McLaren, Lando Norris has said that this is going to be a bit more of a complicated story, or was it Oscar Piastri? I think it's going to be a little bit more of a complicated story compared to the previous races, and it could be closer as people have more experience around this circuit. George Russell has said that he thinks McLaren will come to their own as the strategy will be more important, of course, with the two-stop, and that's really kind of where last season the McLaren was really doing quite well. It was able to manage its race performance throughout a stint really, really nicely. We saw Lando Norris make those late charges in the kind of early to middle part of the season in the Grand Prix against Max Verstappen. Those late charges really helped with their tyres and of course results in the end. Now, will that be the same thing this season? So far it's been a little bit more complicated to see, with Australia having a crazy strategy with the wet conditions. China was a pretty good one for Oscar Piastri, of course, and then Japan, they were following behind Max Verstappen, just not really an easy place to overtake. Or not track to overtake, sorry, I should say, at Suzuka. This time, Bahrain, a little bit more of a straightforward one to overtake at, with 3 DRS zones as well, instead of 1 like Suzuka. Now, that would mean McLaren can really exploit their pace if they do have those good, that good time management. So that's something that we will be looking out for. And McLaren could be very quick. We've got Vesti up to P3. Now, it's Bortoleto up to P1 on that soft tyre. We've got more drivers out on the softs. We've got his teammate Hulkenberg. We've got Hirakawa on to the softs as well, all looking to try and set those quick lap times. Half an hour on the session to go. We're halfway through. Yuki maybe getting a bit confused at where his team was in the pit lane there. Making the change mid-season can be a bit confusing. Carlos Sainz last weekend also had a bit of a confusing moment, missing the Williams pit lane, as didn't realise that it was a reverse pit lane, so the Williams box was a little bit earlier on. In the paddock, completely drove past it. but was able to go around one more time completely fine. That is a session that we did not commentate on. This is our first one. Welcome. If you're just joining. I know we haven't had too many people in, but it's all about the practice. All about getting it done. All about being here and doing it. Now, we're waiting for Piastri and Hulkenberg to get these laps in and try and improve. Piastri should be going incredibly quickly. It's Hulkenberg with a green first sector. Ricciardo as well, who was actually a fair bit slower than Hulkenberg in that first sector. Understandable, as they are an FP1 driver. There's the purple middle sector there for Hulkenberg, though, going nice and quickly. Piastri not setting a time lap at the moment, so they're going to go for the next lap. Must have missed that one. That's Hirakawa up to P5, just behind Vesti by 2/10. Different tyres though, so pretty impressive lap time from Vesti. Hulkenberg goes and takes that top spot away from his teammate, 3.5 tenths in it. Lovely stuff there from the German driver. And then we will see what that McLaren can do, hopefully. What can that McLaren do? Piastri with the soft tyre. As they start the lap, will they open DRS to go for a push lap? Will it be like a qualifying simulation? They do. And this is going to be our first look at the McLaren's raw pace on a soft compound tyre. Can't wait to see this one. Into the first sector. Are they improving? They are. On the exit of 2 into 3, they were going fastest. And then into 4, they were also going fastest. Not fastest on the straights. In the corners, though. In the traction zones. That's where they really seem to be coming alive. See them go through the hairpin. And they just gain it all. Absolutely incredible stuff. When it gets to kind of away from traction zones and away from braking zones, they don't seem to have the advantage, but through the corners it seems to be really quite nice. And they're definitely going to be going pretty quick. Not quite purple in that first sector though. Needs to continue with this lap and find a bit more time. They have a hell of a amount of traffic to get through, that's for sure. So you have to be a bit patient, but purple in that middle sector, and they've got a final corner to do, and we will see what they can do. They've got Hamilton just ahead. Don't know if they would have got a bit of a tow from the Ferrari driver. If they backed off, I'm not sure. As they do continue with the lap, but it looked like they just started losing pace at the final corner, so maybe they didn't want to fully push. As they're 2.5 tenths back from Hulkenberg's time. Just almost a 1/10.5 ahead of Bortoletto though, slotting right in the middle there. Whether Oscar backed off on purpose or not, were they impeded or not, I don't know, but it's practice, so you don't really get anything for being impeded unless you're really illegally blocking somebody. It just kind of gets left alone. No point in penalising for practice. It is what it is. As we're watching Piastri set their laps, we've got many more drivers out on this soft tyre. We've got Ocon P9 on that soft tyre, Gasly on the soft tyre, we've got Sonoda, Lawson, Doohan, Hadjar all on that soft, as well as Albon now out on that soft tyre. Bortoletto has come back out onto that soft tyre to try and improve once. Well, I say try and improve, just set more lap times. It's the scrub soft tyre, so they haven't changed the one that they did use. Hajar to P4. And going purple in that final sector. Finding a decent amount of lap time, finding a decent amount of confidence. And Esteban Ocon beats it immediately. Well, not going purple, but setting some really nicely put together laps, or sectors I should say, and going for that top spot ahead of Hulkenberg. And we're going to see... Are we going to see Piastri go again? Or are we going to see Piastri go into the pit lane? They've done a hell of a cooldown lap. That's for sure. It's taken them a while. But I believe they are going back into the pit lane. And they do so. Doing improves. P3 for them. Lots of soft tyres. Working out quite nicely at the moment. Sonoda to P4. We're seeing the order change nicely. We've got Albon coming across the line as well. What can they do here? Up to P1. Lovely stuff from Alex Albon. 2.5 tenths in the lead over Esteban Ocon's time. Track evolution, of course, will be a thing here in Bahrain. The first F1 running that they've had so far this weekend. The support series will also definitely rubber in the track as time goes by, so we will be getting incredibly quick compared to the times that we have right now. But still, these lap times are coming in very close to one another, so they can be kind of related to pace, and Gasly going absolutely destroying everyone else. Half a second almost. I'm just going to go and double check the sector, or sorry, the FP1 times from last season, if I can. Because that would be pretty nice to see. It was the first race of the season, of course, there. And we saw McLaren finish P6 and P8. Historically, in the recent times especially, McLaren really haven't had that good of openers, despite Lando Norris being P2 to begin the FP1 session. The FP1 lap time, fastest time, was set by Daniel Ricciardo, 32.869. So we're not quite there just yet. We've still got a little bit more to find. We had a 30.3 from Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes in the FP2 session, so that's what we'll be expecting later on. And the car should go faster later on as well, as the tyres will be in a bit more of an operating temperature, or window. For what they're designed for, at least. Now, I do want to have a look at the race result from 2023 as well for Bahrain, because I do believe that was another race that really wasn't great for McLaren. It's a DNF. I do apologise for this. It was a DNF for Oscar Piastri, last place. And it was Lando Norris, last of the finishers, in P17. So yeah, it really doesn't work too well for the McLarens, where they started on track as well. It was Lando Norris P11. And it was Oscar Piastri. I'm trying to find him, but just nowhere. P18. So all the way down there for the McLarens in 2023. In 2022, did they have a bit of a better time? Or was it still a bit of a struggle? No, it seems to be a bit of a struggle. Daniel Ricciardo P14 and Lando Norris P15. So they really just didn't have that good of a time. We're going to go one more, 2021, just to see for the sake of it. Even though that was absolutely ages ago now. It was a hell of a long time ago. We saw Daniel Ricciardo P7, Lando Norris P4. So, since 2021, or since 2022, they haven't really run here that well in previous seasons. But now they're going to get another shot, arguably of the fastest car. That's interesting in the media, because we've seen a few comments from a few drivers saying that it's the fastest car. We've got Lando Norris saying that it was quite nice to have the fastest car. It's quite a luxury. And then I've seen a comment that is saying that we maybe don't have the fastest car. So I don't know whether they're true rumours or true comments or not. But that's what I've seen so far in the media. Now, we've had avoiding action from Alex Albon on Luke Browning. It seems that maybe they got in the way of each other. Okay, so Luke Browning, he's basically been on a flying lap, and tried to avoid Alex Albon, who wasn't communicated that his teammate was right behind him, and he had to try and move out the way. I think it was probably a lot closer than it's being made out to be from Luke Browning, as they comment. That was close. I'm assuming it was probably a little bit closer than that reaction, but he seemed pretty cool with it. Went into the pit lanes, come back out on that medium tyre. Is currently last of the pack, 7 seconds away. Whether they're having issues or doing some different running, I don't know. Car 22, Sonoda and Albon investigated pit lane infringement, so that was an overtake of one of the cars on the other. I think overtaking on the inside of the pit lane, which isn't really what you're supposed to do. So that's an interesting one. We'll have to look at that and try and comment on it for the next session in FP2. 15 minutes on the clock, not too long to go now in this session. Gasly tops the times, Albon in P2, Ocon in P3, Hülkenberg, Doohan, Sonoda, Piastri, Lawson, Bortoleto, Hadjar, and then Lando Norris in P12 at the moment. On that soft tyre, looking to go fastest. I say fastest, faster, as they don't currently go green, or purple I should say, in that first sector. Only green for Lando Norris at the moment. Oscar Piastri is out on track once again, this time on that medium tyre. They finish with the softs, they don't want to go again. But it's Lando Norris who is going for a fast lap here. Once again, purple in the corners, not so quick in the kind of straighter sections. Braking zones and traction zones seem to be where they do come alive. High speed maybe as well a benefit for the McLaren. But just on that straight section, not the fastest out of the entire grid. And really the top end speed seems to have a bit more of a struggle. But Lando Norris around the final corner, what's it going to be for the Brit? And they're going to go straight to the top. A 33.2. 2.5 tenths almost ahead of Gasly. As expected, the McLaren's on top, but still not quite so close to the FP1 times that we saw last season. With Daniel Ricciardo at 32.8. So we've still got to find about 4 tenths just under 4/10 to find a matching sector 1 time from last season. We've got 40 minutes to do it, but if we're already getting these soft tyre runs in, I don't know if we're going to try and go again to improve, or if we're just going to stay where we are. Now, it's not going to be my final prediction, but I'm going to try and make a prediction for the race. Or for qualifying, actually, I should say. Even in FP1. It would be very, very silly to do so. It's really not going to... be a good prediction, but... Norris, Piastri... Yeah, Verstappen. It's just going to be straightforward. That might be the same. We need to see what Verstappen can do in the car in FP2. That's going to be a good one. I hope to see him get some good laps in. Absolutely awesome weekend from him last time. So with that good momentum, he should be in a good position. Surely. Surely. Alright, I do apologise for the moment of silence there. Just looking at the data. More talk about Hamilton's hair. Like I said, it's different. Will he run it for the whole weekend? I don't know. I've only seen one interview with him. I'm not sure if he put it back up or not, but I'm pretty sure dreads are pretty hard to put together, so I guess he is going to be running that hairstyle for the weekend. At least. And then, I think, when's the next race? When are we going to see them again? It's going to be 20th of April, so next week. We are going to see it next week. So whether they get their dreadlocks done once again or not, I don't know. But it is their opportunity. Or are they going for a new era of hairstyle in Ferrari? They had a new era of hairstyle. A few hairstyles for Mercedes compared to McLaren with the buzz cut. Now, to 11 minutes, almost 10 minutes. Now in the 10-minute range. Browning's still not able to improve on their lap time and staying where they are. Current bottom three, Antonelli, Bogdanovic and Browning, so 2 FP1 drivers in last positions. And then Antonelli still in the pit lane, only doing 3 laps in this session since having that issue, so really it's been a long time that they've been stuck here. And it's a shame, but they should be able to get back into it for FP2. You would expect, at least. You would expect. Unless it's a bigger issue than we think. Of course, if they have to take the floor off, it's a decent sized job. And they're going to have to be going as quick as they can, those mechanics. Alex Albon having more frustration in the car over the radio, trying to figure out what to do, communicating with the team. We saw back in Japan they had some pretty strong, not words, but kind of manner, a very strong manner, showing frustration. A very different Alex Albon to what we're used to, even though when they were taken out by Lewis Hamilton in 2019 Brazil and 2020 Austria, I believe. Or 2020 Austria, I think it was. They still weren't that angry, although they did seem frustrated. The expression that they gave across wasn't really severe, at least from what was broadcasted. This time around in Japan, it was brutal, from what we know from Alex. And now once again, finding more problems. Now I'm a bit more up to date with the situation, of course, watching along with FP1 and will be watching along with FP2, FP3 and qualifying. We'll see how Alex and his frustrations continue if they go again. For those that don't watch the practice sessions and maybe a live session, it can be a little bit confusing of not really getting the full picture of what happened throughout a weekend. So maybe it would explain a little bit more, and Alex didn't just snap in the Japanese Grand Prix race. He's had issues all across the weekend, so that's why they were frustrated. Luke Browning out on track. Dino Bogdanovic also on the soft tyre, both of them. Hamilton as well, all looking to go quickly. So we are going to get some more lap times in. Are we going to see a faster lap time than last season in the FP1 session? Of course, this is race 4 compared to it being race 1 as last season. So really, you'd think that these cars are going to go even quicker, but they haven't got that close. They're just under 4 tenths away from Daniel Ricciardo's best time in the FP1 session last season. So we're looking to try and go a bit quicker than that, because why not? It would be quite fun. And we are seeing a lot of people on this soft tyre, whether they're scrubs or fresh tyres. Dragovic improves on the fresh soft tyre, but only to P13. Still behind Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll is going, have a fresh set of soft tyres. That Aston Martin hoping to be a little bit more competitive, trying to work with an upgrade package, I believe, if the information is correct. And we'll see if that can work for them. Bogdanovic to P12. And we've got, of course, Hamilton and Browning, who will be on their way to try and set a lap as well. Lando Norris starting another lap on the soft tyre. Whether it will be a quick one, I don't quite know. And now I'm just looking throughout the grid. We've got Albon out once again, this time on the medium. We're going to go and have a look with Hamilton, who's backed off on this lap. No, they haven't backed off on this lap. They're improving on this lap. Purple in turn 4, purple on the exit of turn 8, and going into P3 in turn as well. So compared to their rookie teammate on track for the FP1 session, that's pretty impressive. And that's Browning, who does eventually get an improvement lap in. Good to see them further up the order. That's to P13 there for Browning. And it's, if I can try and figure that one out, 9 tenths away from Alex Albon, more or less. So it's definitely better, finally getting a bit of a better lap in, and going faster than Bogdanovic in the Ferrari, which should be the fastest car. Although that Williams seems to be no slouch this season so far at the beginning. Will that Williams be able to carry some updates throughout the season and continue this good performance points-wise, or are they going to have a bit more of a difficult time? I don't quite know. But points for Alex in Australia. We had double points for Williams in China. Again, points in Japan for Albon. So they're looking to try and continue this point streak here in Bahrain with a circuit that they're kind of familiar at. Formula 1, I mean. Now everybody will have that advantage, so it's just really who can get super dialed in. This is the circuit that everybody can get really dialed in. And it can be pretty quick. Now, you see Oscar Piastri out on track. On that medium tyre will not be going too much quicker. 3.5 minutes on the clock, and we're not going to see some absolutely crazy lap times. Antonelli still in the pit lane, is now last of the runners by 2.5 seconds and will not see the rest of this session, unfortunately. Massive shame, but what can you do other than hope that you can get into the next session? Vesti down in P18, so not too many laps for the Mercedes team, and the FP1 driver, the only one that's really doing the vast amount of running. Having a bit of a struggle compared to where they are early on. But they haven't set a recent soft lap time, so you can't really look into it too much. It's FP1. As always, you can get excited about it. I get excited about it because why not? But it's not going to mean a massive amount. Lando Norris is still on top, as we expect. Will they be able to go on top for FP2 as well? Well, Verstappen's going to be in that one as well, so maybe they have something to say about it, but it will be their first time in the car around here in Japan. They'll have a bit to find their teammate right now. Tsunoda P9 at the moment, 1.2 seconds away from the fastest time from the McLarens that Verstappen beat last time around in Suzuka. All right. Waiting for the next few laps to go through. Hamilton is not going to be improving, I'd assume. They have set their fastest lap time of the session. About 6 tenths away from Lando Norris. Everyone out on track right now except from Kimi Antonelli, so it is a busy one. That's for sure. A very busy one. But it's not qualifying, so we shouldn't get anybody getting penalties from impeding, unless it, as I said earlier on, it's incredibly dangerous illegal blocking. But other than that, nothing too much will happen, so it is just about dealing with the chaos and just having to get on with it. Just trying to have a look through the order. Hadjar 1.4 seconds away from the fastest time. Lawson 1.1, so a couple tenths in it. The two racing balls nice and close together at the moment. Currently on that hard tyre. Awasa into the pit lane as the clock runs to the end. And we will get these final laps done. Checkered flag is done. Bortoleto will be the first one to take it. And we did actually get a note from the stewards investigating. They'll be investigating after the session from impeding. So, as I said, if there is something absolutely crazy, then there will be something looked into. I assume there won't be a penalty, maybe a fine, but the two teammates, surely they wouldn't get anything. Drivers crossing the line. And once we see everybody go through, we will look at the times. we will look at the order and we will read it out before we meet you later on once again for the FP2 sessions, before we head to Saturday for qualifying and FP3, which we will be streaming. Whether we'll be streaming the race on Sunday, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to check at a later point. Other than that, we see the cars go across, waiting for Ocon, Piastri and Hadjar to finish their session. There goes Ocon. Of course, Iwasa and Antonelli went into the pit lane, or Iwasa went into the pit lane before the session ended. Antonelli hasn't been out for a long time. Hadjar, the last car to cross the line or head to the pit lane. I assume they're going to go out again and get a practice start in as they do. So that is Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Doohan, Lawson, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Bortoletto, Hadjar, Browning, Boganovic, Lance Stroll, Felipe Drugovich, Hirakawa, Vesti, Iwasa, and Andrea Kimi. Antonelli at the back of the pack with those issues. In the end, that's been FP1. They'll be doing their practice starts right now on the grid before they go to the pit lane. And we will see you a little bit later on in a couple of hours for FP2 with a bit more information and with Max Verstappen on the grid. We'll see you in a bit. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.